Hey everybody, welcome back to Pro EDU Interviews. My name is Nicole, and today I'm here with a group of pretty amazing guys who have gone through our recent 6-week CGI for Photographers Synchronous Course. We were really excited to start this course kind of pioneering what CGI looks like for photographers and see what our students would walk away with. How is this going to impact their careers, not only in photography, but just in imaging as a whole? And now that the course is complete, we gathered 3 of our amazing students so that we could ask them questions that hopefully answer the kinds of things that you want to know about what CGI is going to look like in the future of photography, how it can affect your career, and is this something that you can get work in? Is this something that can improve the quality of your work or even become a new income stream? So I'm going to introduce these amazing guys real quickly. Today we have Ash, Ian, and Ryan with us. I'm going to start with you, Ash, and let me just have you introduce yourself real quick.
Sure. My name is Ash Marl. I'm a commercial photographer in Ontario. And I just kind of decided to take on the CGI course to kind of augment what I currently did and then hopefully develop a new income stream in the long term.
Right on. Ian, how about you?
Hi, my name's Ian. I'm from New Zealand originally, but based in London, but actually moving back to New Zealand on Saturday. I took the course. I'd always been thinking about learning CGI, and it just happened that the course was advertised at the time I was seriously looking at it, and I'm primarily a retoucher, so CGI for me is a little bit, I shoot as well, but CGI is a little bit of a mix of both things that I really like doing, and it kind of blew my mind as to what actually CGI can do and how far I can take it, mixing post-production and photography as well.
Right on. And Ryan, last but not least.
Hey, what's up? I'm Ryan Sims. I do a lot of portrait photography and cosplay photography in Nashville, Tennessee. And man, I have followed Pro EDU and their work for a long time. I've always just been super blown away by everything they produce. And my buddy, Dustin Volkema, was like, hey, I'm going to be instructing this class. You should take it. And so really it was peer pressure. No, no, I had a really good long chat with Dustin. He and I do very similar work. We both do like cosplay photography and everything. And so we've known each other, prior to this class and everything. But I have always been super, frustrated in the past when because I do a lot of Photoshop composites, and just whether it's trying to look for the right locations to photograph for stock or the right sites to buy stock, just not getting what I want. And I'm like, I would love to know what Dustin, so that I could create these worlds and not have to worry with this problem anymore. So I took the plunge and we dived in, and it was amazing.
Outstanding. So you guys covered this a little bit already, but I'd actually like to have you first kind of dive into why you were looking into CGI in the first place. I know, Ryan, you kind of started, so I'll actually go back to you and just expand on that a little bit. Like, what made CGI seem like such a great option for you right now?
Man, so many places to start. Well, for one, it's CGI. It's totally awesome and amazing. And given the type of work that I do, I draw a lot of inspiration from Hollywood and from, TV shows, Netflix, video games, all kinds of comic books. And so really after seeing all of that, and then of course, having my chats with Dustin about, and of course, just seeing the work that he produced, which really just blew my mind. I was at a point where I really just wanted to take my photography to the next level. And in my mind, I'm still getting there. Like, I'm not there. Like, I want to keep growing. But we're always our own worst critics. But yeah, I just, all the inspiration from, all those things, I'm like, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. And it's hard to do that when, like I was saying before, when you're constantly just getting frustrated if you've shot something at a certain angle and you just can't get the lighting and everything just to match. You kind of have to Photoshop force it to work. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, I want to make it look like we're there. I want to put us in this world. Yeah. I started to ramble, and maybe I got off course. I don't know. But does that kind of answer your question?
No, absolutely. So like in the world of cosplay photography, I know it makes a big difference. Like sometimes you'll see photos that are just in a studio and it's on white and there's somebody in their costume. And sometimes you'll see photos where somebody's on location, but it doesn't always work, right? Like you can tell they walked out into a park and took a photo. So what is it about CGI particularly that's allowing you to give cosplayers what they really want when they come to you for photographs?
Oh man. Oh gosh. We'll use an example that I did recently and kind of want to continue expanding on, but like Batman, for example, we can always put Batman on any rooftop, or we could put him, with the moon in the background, or do some type of night Gotham City type thing. But I can never get like a Batmobile, like a legit Batmobile from the same angle, same perspective, same everything. And of course, with the internet being as broad and awesome as it is, there's these. You want a Batmobile, like, from the Arkham game series, here it is. Or, in other words, and granted, if I take the time and really, really work hard, I'm sure I could make it myself. But like Dustin says, if someone has done the work and it's out there, I mean, like, go for it. It's going to cut your work time, severely down. But again, I'm rambling on and I'm like forgetting your initial question.
So what it sounds like is that you're basically able to give them the fantasy for real, right?
For real, like, yeah.
You're not taking them to a parking garage that they know of. You're actually creating an environment that they never could get into as their characters.
It's like, let's freaking do this, right? Like, let's put you there. You want to be in Gotham? Let's be in freaking Gotham. You know what I mean? Like, let's do this. So yeah,
which is
it just really
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's the possibilities now are endless, with Mega Scans and Quixel and all these other sites like devoted to kind of giving you the content that you need. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like there's nothing that we can't do. Yeah. So really, I mean, if you've got the knowledge and that's the goal, is to gain the knowledge from this course, it's like your imagination is really the only thing holding you up,
Yeah. Absolutely. 100% true. So Ian, what about you? What was it about CGI that fit for you right now? And did you have any feelings that kind of this is where things are going? Like, were you looking ahead at all? Or was there something specific about your work that made CGI look really attractive?
To be honest, like, I think for me, I just like learning things. I love anything that's new and anything that's involving like creativity and things like that. And CGI for me was something I had really no knowledge at all about. And once I started digging into the course and even just YouTube and stuff, realizing like what Ryan said, like the possibilities are really endless. And I think one of the main things about CGI that blew my mind completely was just how real you can get things to look. And as a retoucher, like you want things to look real, and blurring lines between reality and and the 3D world is just that kind of thing. Just like every day I'm in it, I am constantly blown away by. I look at an image now and I'm like, is that real or is it not? And I love that. And I love technology. I love where everything is heading, and where does CGI fit with my work at the moment? To be honest, this is it's more of adding a skill to what I already do, and that's a tricky one for me because because I'm not primarily a photographer. I don't do what Ash or Ryan do, and like as much as they do. So for me, it's just more so about learning a new skill that I think is going to be really relevant in the future, and that I think, like IKEA and everything shooting, doing CGI. I think it's just if you don't learn it, then you're likely to be left behind.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of the scary part, particularly as an image maker, and seeing how CGI is just kind of continuing to eat up little parts of the industry, product photography and cars and beverages, and it's just kind of taking additional bites. And I mean, as a retoucher, you must see that with your clients, yeah?
No, exactly. It's going to get to the point where it's kind of like, did someone shoot this or did someone make this? And it'd be really hard to, I think, to see the difference, because from where CGI started to where it is now is just light years ahead, and it's only going to get better.
Yeah, agreed. So Ash, what about you? What was it that made CGI the right thing for you to learn right now?
Oh, geez. The reality is that right now we're kind of like where, I'm from like the film days to the digital days, and so I kind of liken it to that, where I kind of saw the motion from film to digital, and it made me actually like switch. And I did it fairly early because I saw that there was something there. I think right now is the same spot that we were like 20 odd years ago, and that's no joke. Because in the last year, the advances in CG have been just insane, and it's quite scary to think that like Ian's like a professional retoucher, and he's sitting there like just really looking at images to figure out if it's real or not. That tells me that we've already gone past that kind of like that threshold of where digital is like CGI is like photography. Basically, it's another tool to make images, and to kind of like to kind of echo what Ryan said, there is like everything's possible there. Like I'm in a small town. We have like no skyscrapers or no city. We have a lot of countryside around us. But if I wanted to, I could do a shoot now and have people in the city, and make it look real, which is kind of what everybody wants, right? Is you don't want to have limits on your art. And this really is kind of open it up, and then it's kind of rabbit holing me in a way, because at the beginning it was like, okay, I'm going to supplement backgrounds and just switch out backgrounds for my clients and have like really cool different like arenas. But now I'm starting to realize already that like product work, for example, like most product work should be done in CG, because it's probably going to end up being cheaper, and it's a lot more manageable. And if the client turns around and doesn't like the angle, well, it's 2 clicks away from switching it up. So I think on a business point of view, it makes a lot of sense. And as an artist, it makes even more sense, because you now have the opportunity to actually create something that doesn't exist, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, agreed. That's amazing. I think it really gives us the opportunity to go beyond what photography allows, and really to go above and beyond for our clients, right? Because now they're not limited by their location either, which is pretty amazing. So it's almost like it's a little bit like being a superhero, right? So you just pop into different places. There's nothing stopping you from being in London, or in the Philippines somewhere, or on a beach in Mexico for your client. That's kind of insane.
Well, and think of it on the client's perspective, right? Suddenly having the ability to have that's huge. Like I know one of my clients, one of the jobs I literally picked up while I was doing the course, when I explained to him what I was doing and then showed him like a mock-up sample, which was kind of like me just putting in like probably 6 hours worth of work from like the 3 weeks before. So I kind of had some knowledge, but not really enough to actually kind of do it in a way that makes sense. But the client loved it. And so that to me was a big turning point, where I'm like, oh, okay. So not only is this really cool to me, but clients really like it too. So like I've now managed to create something that he couldn't get before, not without paying like tens of thousands of dollars, and he'll get it at a fraction of the cost, and it's replicable in different kind of like scenarios. So we can like switch out the product, we can switch out the kind of, we're doing weather stuff, so we can switch out the weather and have it rain or snow or whatever he needs. Like that to the client, that just opened up an avenue for him too, because he's had trouble explaining to his like, you know, target audience what he needs, right? Or what he wants to tell them about. And now it's something like, well, we're no longer constrained by what we can capture in camera, right?
That's a really good line. We're no longer constrained by what we can capture in camera. And I mean, obviously with composite work, we've been going in that direction for a long time, but this gives us the ability not only to kind of create that space, but to move around it and to light it and change the mood and do all of the other things that are so difficult and time consuming with composite photography. So that's pretty outstanding. And now let's move a little bit into the course itself and start getting your guys' feedback and your thoughts on the course. So Ryan, let's start with you. What were your thoughts looking back at the course? What did you think of it? How do you feel about that experience? What was that like to go through?
Oh, man. Well, it is definitely a wealth of knowledge for sure. I can't remember how many hours it was. It was a lot, which is, I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying it's a lot of information. And when you're learning a new program, it's definitely going to be a lot. It seems like a huge undertaking, but I just remember, it's like, if I take baby steps, just baby steps, it's like, we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. And, cause I mean, I like to look at things as a whole sometimes. So I'm looking at the beginning and then I'm looking all the way at the bottom, like, this is a lot. But as you're going through, like Dustin does a good job of kind of like holding your hand and you know, carrying you through a little bit and letting you know, hey, like, I get it. This is a lot of information, but you know, just, you know, focus on this right now. Don't worry about that. We'll talk about that in the next video or something like that. So overall, I mean, like I thought it was really, really cool. And I thought it was really, really, really well done as far as Dustin's explanation and how he goes, you know, from UVs is what kind of scared me at first. I was like, wait, what is this? You know, but like going through and explaining the information, and finally when we got to materials and lighting, I was just like, oh yes, what I've been waiting for. But I mean, the whole experience, I loved it. And I still go back to the videos often. And that's the one thing I love is that like, I have the videos to watch. Like if I have a question, I can just go back and it's like, how did he do this when he was trying to create glass or something? You know, it's like, oh, let's go back to this video and let's watch it. Or like a particular type of metal. I'm like, how did he make this thing look, you know, scratchy? Like, let's go back and watch that video. So, overall, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, the times I got frustrated were the times I was really like, you know, maybe had something that I wanted to do and I had that question, but I knew that it was probably going to be answered in the next video. And most of the time it was. So it's like, you know, as long as I get kind of impatient sometimes. And so, you know, if you just kind of sit back and be like, hey, just take a breath. Let's just go through this. You're going to get there. You know, and I love the fact that we had all the Q&A sessions and actually got to talk with Dustin one-on-one. I thought that was amazing. And so, yeah, you get out of it what you put into it. So.
Ooh, yeah, agreed. I mean, with any kind of education, right? Like that is the key. Go in ready to learn, ready to take in everything and put it to work. So, Ian, what about you? What were your thoughts on the course?
I mean, I think we could all say similar things. I really enjoyed it, and I mean, if you go, if you, I don't know how many people have actually looked at other courses from other people, but sometimes what I like about ProU to start off is that the production value was actually really good. So if the videos look good, everything looks nice, you're immediately hooked, and you know that you're going to get a good tutorial. Well, most of the time, and it was definitely the case with this one, and with all the courses I've bought from ProEDU. And I learn most of the time just by screwing up a lot, and so I to be honest, I downloaded the free trial of C4D and Octane before the course started, and tried to do a few things on my own and through YouTube, and you make some progress, but without an actual professional helping you along or actually answering your questions, you're going to get stuck, and you don't really want to spend your time YouTubing and Googling for every single thing. So I think having a course like this that you guys offer really cuts a lot of that time out, and you can learn a lot quicker. And like Ryan said, having Dustin there to actually answer your questions when you have, like, when you need them, and like, especially in the live classes, I think is super beneficial. And also having the Discord class to chat with, like everyone in the class, and everyone's learning at the same time. So you all sometimes have the same questions, but some people know a little bit more in different areas, and you can ask each other, which I think is very beneficial. And I mean, apart from obviously Dustin being an amazing teacher and really easy to understand, and I think because he has the photography background as well, and like retouching and the whole package, he explains everything in a way that is very easy to understand from all the angles, which I thought was really quite handy. And yeah, I mean, that's why I liked it.
No, that's outstanding. I actually really liked that you mentioned the contrast with YouTube, because for so many of us, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've learned so much by searching through tutorials, right? But the problem is when you're searching through YouTube, like you said, sometimes it can take a long time to find something that actually answers your question or teaches what you want to know or gets as in depth as you need, or sometimes just the quality is so bad it's hard to keep up or see what they're actually doing. And just all the time that you have to put into searching for all that stuff, having a class there that gives everything to you all in one place that you don't have to search for, God, that's a time saver.
And to have it to have access to it from now on, I think is like what Ryan said is beautiful. Like that's something that we can always carry around with us forever and to call upon, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that, with Discord, you guys all still have access to each other forever. So if one person hasn't been working for a while and another one's just blazing ahead, there's always somebody there that you can go back and be like, guys, help me. I'm getting lost.
To be honest, I didn't even know what Discord was. I was one of the first people like added into the group, and I was asking like, how do we even use this? Because I mean, I've never used Discord or Slack or anything like that just before this, and I think I liked it. Well, that's another thing. What I liked about it was you actually feel like you're in a classroom because you're with other people. You're not just on your own watching a video and just following along and just hoping for the best. So I think having that kind of Discord community actually helps it feel like you're learning with others as apart from learning on your own.
How important do you think that was, that feeling of having classmates and not just being by yourself? Like, how much of a difference does that make?
Well, if I contrast it to the other tutorials that ProEDU have offered, that we do stuff on your own, I really loved those, but this was next level to just the camaraderie, and then the banter, and aside from the learning, just being able to just, especially during COVID, there's not really many people you can talk to or see, or just having the community just makes everything a lot more fun.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely one of my favorite aspects for sure. So Ash, for you, why CGI? What made this course work for you or not? What were your thoughts?
Sure. This is the worst coming last after these guys because they've covered like 90% of it. So here's my input. ProEDU has pushed their bar doing this course, and because it's a really like CGI is like information dense, so you've got a lot to learn. But you really push the bar up on this one because now my expectation of what ProEDU courses are is so much different. Because up to now, and then kind of got frustrated. Like I love your videos, and often I'll get about halfway through, and then I'll just get to the point where I can kind of figure it out by myself, and I just go and do it. And it usually doesn't get the best results. And really, if I was smart, I would sit down and go through step by step. Having a classroom, like because this is learning, it's not education, right? It's like you're really pushing your boundaries of what you've already got in your noggin, and then being like, you know, shoulder to shoulder with like Ian and Ryan, and like actually getting into the CGI properly, right? And really having like the course load, like for those who've done Pro EDU before, it's like, oh, just follow along with the course, copy, 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 copy. Yeah, that looks good. You know, that's pretty much your experience, right? This was like, oh, I made this really cool spear, and then everybody's like, oh, that's great, or it's terrible, whatever the case. You have that back and forth, and people are doing the same thing. So it's really so much more than what I've experienced with Pro EDU before. It is a really pleasant experience. Like from having a live teacher like that, every single Pro EDU course from here on out, even for the first 6 weeks, should have their teachers in Discord, right? And like, you know, I know a lot of them are used to like Slack and stuff like that, so this isn't really that difficult. That is probably the most valuable part of the course, and like, you know, being able to talk to your teacher basically and say, look, I think I messed up. This doesn't do this, or I've been trying to do this. Help, you know, like you don't get that from a video. When you're sitting there with a video, you're kind of really railroaded, and this just allows you to explore, and then you can mess up. And like Ian said, like making 100 mistakes and like really kind of like messing up is how a lot of us learn. Like we do it on purpose, you know. Like I've the number of times I sat in Discord talking to people, going, "This is gonna crash my system, but let's see what it does," and then just kind of like press the button and watch everything blow up. You know, like that was fun, and it was like it's a good experience, and really I found the learning was easier as a result. So I know I probably like picked from like, you know, both of the responses before, but that's yeah, that's the course.
It's allowed. It's allowed. Yeah, that's outstanding. Your answers are making me really happy, guys, because I think that just proves that we did what we set out to do with this course, to make it different from everything else, where we can give you guys the opportunity to learn together and to have access to your teacher, and to build up these relationships with each other that now you get to carry on into the rest of your career. So, and speaking of career, that's the next part that I want to talk about. So now, having taken the course and having absorbed everything that there is, what are you doing now? Like, how has that impacted the work that you're creating? And I know for some people, they're literally already working in CGI. For some people, they're incorporating it into the portrait work that they're making. So starting with you, Ash, tell me, after learning what you've learned, what has that enabled you to do now with your work?
It's opened up a lot of avenues that I didn't expect. So a lot of the time I was, like I said before, I was thinking just backplates, right? Like switch out the background, have them in a city, yada, 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 and all that. But it's so much more now, because there's stuff that I couldn't do before just because of physical limitations. Like I couldn't, you know, set a strawberry on fire and have it roll downstairs because, you know, there's fire hazards and people don't like burning strawberries. But for the most part, all of the stuff that we're learning here is directly applicable. You know, like there's two kind of like sections within the CGI kind of a course. There's like the portraits, and then there's the products. And for someone who does mostly kind of commercial lifestyle and, you know, kind of corporate stuff, I should have gone through the portrait stuff, but because I knew I was going to be working in that regardless, I wanted to try out the product stuff to see if that's something that I liked. And which really surprised me is because I hate with a passion doing product work, but doing the product work in CGI was freeing. You know, I could have like motion and stuff like that, and like doing video is just, it's so much fun. Like being able to see stuff kind of like particulate off or whatever it does. It's really changed the way that I do my work now. Like, you know, I've landed a couple of jobs already, and they're both product based, which tells me that, you know, not only is it something that's kind of fun to do and kind of interesting to learn, but there's also a market out there, and the market's really parallel with what we do already. So a lot of our clients know us as image makers. They don't care how we make it. Like, that's the honest truth. And that's a hard one to take as a photographer, because often we're just like, well, I know how to light, I know how to light this bottle. I'm amazing. But then you're like, that's like 10 minutes in CGI.
So Ian, for you, what did the class give you, and what do you feel like you have available to you now that you've finished CGI for photographers?
So I've never shot any product photography ever. Oh, once I did actually. I shot a picture of my own shoe, and I mean it turned out okay. It was pretty boring, but I got I realized quite early on that I'm really interested in the modeling and building of things. I mean, I think there's like people who like to model. It's like I feel like people who it's like retouching and shooting. I feel like people love shooting and hate retouching because of the time. And I feel like I've always liked doing the things that people don't really like doing. So I've always loved retouching, and sometimes more than the shooting. So for CGI, I feel like not everyone really. I mean, I think Dustin even says he can do the modeling obviously, but he says his favorite part is the lighting and the adding the textures and finishing the product. And for someone like me, I really like the process of creating something from nothing, and the course really gave me the skills to build something, and to be able to actually look at an object. And this is where I actually do this. I'll pick up an object and I'll dissect it into shapes. And so it gave me a skill of looking at things in real life quite a lot differently. So I'll look at everything now and try to build it in my head. And that was something I had never ever thought about before, even needed to think about. But now it's an everyday thought, and I love it. Yeah.
So what do you think that's going to look like for you professionally now that you're kind of starting to build these modeling skills? How is that going to impact the kind of work that you do from here on out?
So I managed to well, I'm in the process of landing a couple of CGI jobs in the product vein, just like Ash, and from modeling things like bottles and creams, and I realized I really actually do like product CGI photography and anything to do with products. I feel like that's kind of going to help me go into the vein of creating images that I've never actually done in real life, but in 3D. And there seems to already, like Ash said, there's a market for it, mainly because I think, like Ash, I've explained that you can create things in 3D, and then you can change things, and it makes things cheaper. Like you don't have to hire a studio, you don't have to do any of that. You can change the textures, anything you want, you can change at a click of a button. And I've explained that to a couple of my own clients who I've retouched before, and it's led to interest in future work. So that's where I'm kind of go down, is do the retouching, also do the creating. So yeah, and it's already in the process of doing it. So I'm quite excited.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah. So people getting work already. It just makes me so happy. So Ryan, now that the class is over, what are you taking away from it? And what did you think of the class in general?
Oh man. Well, taking away from it, just like but yeah, I mean, the class was amazing. I love it. And as far as
Ryan, you have to start again. You were muted.
Oh, sorry. It's like, I'm just doing all this stuff the whole time, and
that's okay. I'm saving that for a clip later. It'll be all right.
Yes. Sorry. All right. So I took away just like a huge wealth of knowledge. My brain was just like, but no, I love the class. I thought it was amazing. I've been chatting with people, with a lot of the customers that I have, or clients that I have, have become like good friends. And so I've been like really hyping up. I'm like, hey, I'm taking the CGI class right now. And when it's over, we're going to do some amazing stuff. And they're like super hyped up about it. And the few things I have done, they've just been like blown away with. And so it's really kind of created this general hype, especially in the, the cosplay community, because that's primarily the kind of work that I do. And for me, I'm just so relieved because like I actually have like a backlogged catalog of just like shoots that I've done back when I first started doing this, like for fun. And I've done a lot of fun photo shoots that I'm just like, if I can just wait until one day I can learn CGI and I can create this alleyway that I've been wanting to do, or I can create this planet, or I can create whatever it was to do that. Like I am just itching to get back at that and be like, hey, remember that thing that we talked about like a few years ago? It's like, here it is. but really what I'm super excited about is the hype that I've created with a lot of the clients. And now they're wanting to get new photo shoots and new images. I'm like, hey, now that we can do this, like, can we try out, this new, I'm working on this cosplay and I really want this to be in it. You think you can do that? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And if I can't, we'll figure it out. But also I'm really excited about kind of like, what Ash and Ian were saying, just when it comes to product photography and creating certain props. And what's really been on my brain a lot lately is like a lightsaber. Like I can create like this like little lightsaber handle and then turn right back around. And if I want to, maybe sell that for stock or sell that as a model that someone else can use. And even cosplayers themselves create a lot of the props that they use. And so they'll need those files to actually 3D print what they need. And so it really has, even this, the area of cosplay, it's really opened up a brand new avenue that I am just now kind of opening my eyes to as I'm even talking about it right now. It's like the possibilities are just are endless, and it's going to be crazy, and I'm super excited for it.
I love that your clients are already like, yes, what can we do? Like,
yes.
I can only imagine, like, especially for cosplayers who, like, ideally they want to be in the thing they love, right? Like, they want to be in the movie, in the book, in the comic book, or, whatever it is that their passion is. So this really gives them the chance to do that in a way that they never would have had before.
Well, and especially in this community, like, one of the things in our culture that really drives that is movies and video games. And it's like, they use Cinema 4D for that stuff. It's like the program that they use, we're using to create your image. Like when you go to certain sites, like say, like Megascans, for example. Yeah, Megascans. It's like their like portfolio is like the entire MCU, like Black Panther and like, Captain America and like all of these other movies. You're just like, yeah, you want the scene from this? It's like, yeah, let's, or the cliff from whatever it is. I mean, it's like whatever the image may be. It's like, yeah, we can use that stuff. Like I remember they have something for The Last of Us, that the game for PS4, and I was just like, you mean like we could recreate this room that Ellie's playing the guitar in and like do that? Like they have that stuff on the site? That's insane, Sorry, I kind of went on a little nerdy rant there. No. I am a nerd, so I mean, it's
hey, when you're a nerd, you got to fly your flag high.
Yeah,
so I support that.
I like how you rabbit hole in this too, right? Like you start thinking about it and you're just like, oh wait, I could do this and I could do this, and it's like there's so many more opportunities. It's like you're just like, ooh.
My entire brain and mindset is just one rabbit hole into another. Like you see it when I talk.
Oh
like
yeah.
But
this is definitely like this is opened up. Like
it could be the ADD, but I mean,
yeah,
whatever.
We'll just say it's magic. It's your superpower.
It's magic.
I just love seeing like those two, like where their brains go with all this stuff. Like, 'cause it's quite
weird
different for me, because I mean I don't really do the same things as him. So like, I find it so fascinating to watch that happen.
I make fun of myself for it. So I mean, but yeah, you go for it.
It's just great to see that, like, I mean, obviously it's something that gets you excited enough about what the possibilities are for you your brain just to go everywhere all at once, right? Like not only can I make these cool worlds, but I can build cool stuff, and then I can make these models, and then cosplayers can use them, or they can be used in other places. And all of a sudden now I have 10 products where I used to only have one. And maybe I can build super rad sets that other cosplay photographers can buy and use. Like who knows where there is no end to that. I mean, really, there's no end to the possibilities of what you can make now that you have those skills.
And one thing that really blew me away when you guys advertised this class was the fact, because it was so simple and I never thought of it. It was the fact that, you know, when you had that image of that model in the dress, and it's like nothing in this image is real. And it was this idea that you could create your own like photo studio. I'm like, that's freaking brilliant. Like, why have I not thought of that? Like, why pay studio rent when I can just make my own studio? Like, that was insane. And it really blew me away. And so even stuff like that, you know, I'm like, I can shoot in my 1-car garage, but it's going to look like we shot in this fancy Oscar studio, you know, like, yeah, wow. That was a good selling point. That was a good selling point. It got me.
I agree. So do you think, I mean, obviously now, like looking at it from a portrait photographer's perspective, do you think this is something portrait photographers need to be picking up?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, you know, I mean, oh my gosh, for someone like me who really wants to just keep pushing the limits of what, you know, what I can do, and just keep creating. And I'm never really satisfied where I am. I think that's why I always want to have to keep learning new things, and stepping up my game. Cause I know that's what, you know, a lot of other people are doing. And I normally try to make friends with those people because they motivate me, I motivate them, and we just keep this mutual community going. But yeah, dude, like, why would you not want this? You know, like, why would you not? I mean, if you only do headshots and it's just like super close, I mean, and you're content with doing that, I mean, there's nothing wrong with headshots. I do headshots. I'm just saying that, like, you know, then maybe it might not work for you, but like, why not want to learn that skill set? You know, because again, even headshots you might be doing at a studio that you have to pay rent for, and it's like, you don't have to do that anymore. You know, I'm not trying to like say don't use photo studios anymore. I'm not trying to, let's not put them out of business, but
mass exodus.
But yeah, right. But like, why would you?
And it's all going to be your fault too. It's all going to come back to this moment, and they're going to be like, Ryan killed the photography studio.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody did that,
remember the Ryan effect?
That was it. Only it'll ended up becoming like the Dustin effect. Be like, yeah, everything is ruined now because Dustin taught photographers that they don't need to pay $500 in rent every 2 weeks if they want to take rad pictures in a studio.
It's so weird because, like, and just to echo what he's saying, is like, if you're a composite photographer, do this course, right? Like, there's no reason. Like, probably one of the most frustrating thing about doing composite photography is you've got to find the background first, and then you've got to shoot your model in a way that fits that background, right? Because anybody who's done it the other way has known how much of a gigantic pain in the ass that is. Like, it is so hard to find that. So you end up finding the background, which isn't perfect, but you kind of Photoshop it to how you want, and then you get your model, and then you shoot it in that way, and that's great. But it feels so contrived and difficult. This just switches on its head because it's like, all right, go out and shoot in the studio, light however you want, right? You could have your junior light it. It doesn't make a difference because when you get into CG, you can replicate those lights, right? And like, Ryan hasn't even touched the whole aspect of, you can actually put dots in your studio. So if you are shooting in a garage and you want to shoot like video, by putting like motion capture points, you can actually film in your garage and then have it like mimic in the program, which is like, I don't know how to do it yet, but it's there. And that's kind of exciting because like now you've gone from, you know, a 1-car garage to, you know, a wild studio. Like, why the hell would you not do this?
Agreed.
It's
I
so
agree,
baffling.
sir.
Yeah.
Like, why would you not? Okay, so as time is starting to wind down, we're going to hit the lightning round. So starting with Ash, after every question, I want you guys to just answer the first thing that comes to the top of your head. So Ash, best thing about this course?
Community. Are we
Ian?
doing one worders or are we doing?
You can explain as long as it's quick, 10
Okay.
seconds or less. Okay, let's do it again. Ash, what is the best thing about this course?
Community.
Ian?
Discord. I mean, that's pretty much what he said.
Get your own answers, gosh.
It's not easy going after people, is it?
Yeah, no, I'm like, damn it.
Ryan, what about you? Best thing about this course?
Dustin. He has sexy hair. He says he's gonna shave, but like I'm like, dude, why would you not?
He keeps telling me he's getting pattern baldness, and I'm like, look at your glorious mane. Just
you got fine. Like, yeah. I couldn't have said it better. He has a glorious mane. Yes,
I've seen it in person. It's not balding. He's fine. I don't know what he's talking about. All right. So next question, Ash, who should take this course?
Just creatives. I don't even want to like limit it to photographers. So if you're a retoucher, if you're a photographer, if you make images with your computer, which is 99% of every people, creatives, then creatives.
Ryan, who should take this course?
Oh gosh. Everyone? No, I mean, yeah, it's so broad and at the same time it's so easy. I mean, yeah, creatives. I mean, if you're wanting, I mean, gosh, you can create anything. I mean, so it's like, if you're in graphic design, you should take this. If you're in photography, you should take this. Yeah, I mean, everyone should take this.
Everybody.
I'll say photographers just simply because, for what I do when it comes to cosplay photographer, I can name so very little people who can actually use this skill set. There's so few people that do it. And if you are a photographer and you do this, like, you know, and your own retouching, you're like a triple threat, you know what I mean? Because so many people, because so many people do it and then they just ship it off to somebody else.
Right.
And even the people that do that, you know, unless they're doing it for some huge company, you know, like I think like Tim Tatter and Mike Campew have a thing going on, but like, I don't know if Tim actually does it himself. You know, like maybe Mike, and I could be getting to territory that I don't even know what the heck I'm talking about, but I'm just saying that, you know, when you have multiple skills and you do it yourself, man, like you're like the one-stop shop, you know, so.
It's true. I'm sorry you have to go after that, Ian. So I'll just say this, who do you think would benefit most from this course?
I mean, that's really tough going after those two. They pretty much said it all, but I think if you're anyone who's quite curious about I mean, there's aspects of retouching, there's aspects of photography, there's lighting. I think if you're good at one of those things and not at so much good at the other, I think this gives you a challenge to be able to experiment in something that you're not good at. So like for me, that would be product photography because I've never done it. So now I get to actually build and shoot product photography without actually owning the gear myself and practice my lighting for those types of things and then do the stuff that I know how to do, the retouching afterwards. So I think if you're curious about learning other aspects of the creative art form within the photography realm and animation realm, then I think, yeah, you should totally do this course.
Awesome. So next question, Ian, you get to go first this time. What is the hardest part about this course?
Remembering it all. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that would probably be my answer. Because I found that I start focusing on one or two things, and I go really deep into that I forget some of the stuff that I did before that. So I think, yeah, for me, it would be getting to my right remember everything and just click my fingers and know how to do them. So, yeah.
Makes sense. What were my hotkeys? God, I don't remember them. Ryan, what about you? The hardest thing about this course?
Oh man, hardest part about this course. Well, for me, it's just having patience. You know, everything was sectioned out really, really good, and everything out was explained really, really well. I just having the patience of wanting to get through it all. I would play it at that double speed option, and then I would watch it, and I'd be like, this hour-and-a-half video that just became like a 45-minute video, I'm going to have to go back and rewatch at normal speed, maybe even slower, because I didn't retain it. And so it was just like going back, watching this part, and then going back and rewatching it, and then rewatching it again. I'm like, I don't think I quite understand. Like, let me write this question down so that I can ask him like when Wednesday rolls around. But yeah, because it's a lot of information. It really is. But I mean, what isn't when you're learning it for the first time? So yeah, so for me, being an impatient person, it was just having the patience, but just telling myself that like, hey, it's a 6-week course that technically I have all year to do, but again, just like we were talking about earlier, having that camaraderie of like the class, it really kind of pushed me to like, all right, I want to stay on key. Like I want to make sure that, hey, when my assignments are due, I'm turning them in, because I see that Ash just turned his assignment in, and Ian said everyone's turned their assignment in but me. I need to turn my assignment in, and it kept me on point. So maybe my own accountability, that was the hardest part.
That was the thing, huh?
But yeah, yeah, that's what I got.
That works for me. Ash, what about you? What was the hardest part of this course?
I use this term way too often during the course, but I'm gonna re-echo it. Is I like to run, and like having all these options in front of you, and it's very difficult to kind of like channel focus. Like, you know, it's like similar to Ryan, I definitely ADD in so many ways, and it's like you just like start rabbit holing all over the place. And if you do that in CG, people will not see you for 3 weeks. Like there's so much to learn, and I feel like that is what makes it really interesting. Is like, you know, Photoshop, there's kind of like definitely an easier learning curve in some respects. CGI, you gotta master those like basics first, right? And so I would often say to Dustin, I'm like, I just want to run, and he's like, yeah, but learn this first, dude, because you're just gonna run with your shoes tied. Like, learn to untie your shoes first, then run. And that was, to me, was like, that was the point where I was like, yep, I have to take in all this data, because, you know, there's a lot to learn. And the first week feels like so much information, and then the second week feels a little bit easier, and then by the third week, stuff starts to make sense, and you're like, oh, that's this and this is that. And, you know, and then by like week 4 onwards, you're really starting to hit the ground running, and, you know, you've done that training, and, you know, you've got to the point where you're able to start jogging, you know, and it feels really good after walking, you know, like, you know, when you're no longer rendering out spheres, and you can start rendering out like a, you know, a headset, or, you know, like there's so many cool things that people have done, like, you know, like Ryan's work. I mean, like, God, it's so beautiful. Like, you see that stuff, and it's like, it looks like a movie poster. I'm just like, what the hell, dude? Like, get out of here with that. Like, I'm trying to render it like a sphere.
Like, I made a ball. Look,
it's like, look at my ball, guys.
But what's crazy to me is I look at your stuff and I'm like, I bet you if I were to ask them questions, like technically, like they know so much more than me. It's like I'm just trying to, you know, get by with what looks cool, but like technically, I'm like, yeah, these guys got it, man.
You'll get there though. Like, that's the stuff that you can gloss over that stuff for now. You know, it's like, you'll get there.
I love that. So, how do you guys think? And we'll start with Ryan this time. How do you think going through a 6-week synchronous course differs from the traditional method of just giving somebody a bunch of videos to watch?
Well, I guess it's like Netflix versus Disney Plus, right? You know, Netflix, you can just binge watch the whole thing. And then Disney Plus, you have to wait each week. Maybe it's bad comparison. No, kind of like what I was saying before. I think it really gives you the time to sit and to think about what you've learned, and then really just kind of keep going over it. So it kind of gives you the time throughout the week. And then of course, with your classmates, you can, and your instructor, you can ask the instructor questions. And then of course you've got your teammates, your classmates who are going through the same thing, and they probably have the same questions. So it's nice to have someone who's kind of at the same level that you are, that can kind of rise up with you, which I think is great, versus, tutorial series where it's just all kind of handed to you. And it's like, okay, this is all great information. I'm sure it's very thorough, but if you don't get it, that's on you. Because it's like, here's the information, and if we left something out, well, it's over. Like this, we did this, and this was it, and that's it. Versus in this class, we've like the camaraderie and the really kind of pushing each other and the wisecracks that we make. It really kind of helps spur along this inspiration. Then you see what other people have created, and it really just kind of amps you up to want to do something too. So yeah. And I think for someone like me, again, who like Ash said, who wants to kind of hit the ground running, it really, instead of just having to chug it all in, I can be like, all right, this week we're just focusing on modeling. So let's put everything else to the side. Let's just focus on modeling. Let's get this. Let's spend a whole week just chewing on that. And then we'll focus on UVs. Then we'll focus on materials. And then we'll focus on lighting. And for someone like me, like that really helps, because I need it to be broken down. I'm like Michael Scott. I need you to explain it to me like I'm 5. Okay. Like that's what I need. And if I look at the whole big picture, it's going to be like, that's way too much. So I like the bite-sized chunks, and I like the weekly kind of, all right, this week we're going to do something new. And yeah.
What do you think is the biggest benefit of having access to Dustin during a course like this?
Man. Well, first off, I was just blown away at how much access that we had all the time. I'm just like, wow, he's really answering a lot of questions all the time. I mean, exactly that. I mean, the fact that like, hey, if I'm going through this tutorial series and I don't understand something, and I can just shoot Dustin a message and just be like, hey, dude, look, hey, I think I get what you're saying here, but in another sense, I have no idea what you're saying here. Can you please elaborate and explain? And the fact that not only will he explain it, but he can actually jump on Discord, I can share my screen with him, and like we can walk through it together. And it might only take like 5 or 10 minutes, but like that's the difference between learning something and not learning something, So to me, that's huge. Who really values one-on-one learning, like, yeah, I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, agreed. So Ian, you get to go next this time. So for you, what was that difference between having a course like this that's kind of the synchronous 6 weeks with people versus just having a tutorial that you can watch on your own?
I know I'm the second speaker, but it's still really hard to go after someone who's pretty much said everything I would say. Yeah, like Ryan said, I just with the video, you've given, it's like you're given a sword, and then you have to. He's like, here you go, here's your weapons. And go off and slay that dragon on your own, And whereas with the class, everyone gets a sword, and we're all there together, and we all go to slay the dragon together. And if you don't know what you're doing, there's going to be someone there to help you, and your guild master is there, and he's the experienced one is there. And so if you need help, there's always help. And I think for anyone learning anything, I think it's important to have someone, A, to look up to, and B, to have someone who actually knows what they're doing and that has real world experience in working in the industry. Like, I think I really think that's important to be learning from someone who's actually doing it for a living, and not just a hobby. Because if you want to go and take this a step further, you need to know what the industry's like, and you can ask questions to Dustin, and because he knows, because he does it. And I think, yeah, having access to him, and like Ryan said, there really was a lot of access to him, which was super surprising. Not even just in the allocated hours that he had, but there's in the Discord channel, there's a live chat, and Ash would usually instigate. He would be like, "Oh, we're gonna go hang out in the chat if anyone wants to come out and hang out," and we'd all chat and talk about problems or that we're having, and then Dustin would just come in on his own time and hang out, and if you had questions outside of school hours, he was there to answer them and show his screen, or even if it wasn't helping you with your own stuff, he would show you what he was working on with a fun project. So I think being able to have the access to Dustin and to everyone else learning at the same time, at the same speed, is what makes this learning a lot better, in my opinion, than it is to just watch a video and see how you go.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I have to say, like, Dustin's commitment to you guys was so out of this world. Like, there were times we would meet and I'd be like, dude, you need to stop because you need to sleep at some point. It's, he'd show up with bags under his eyes, but he got so much energy from hanging out with you guys and like seeing what you were working on and hearing the cool stories about what you guys were accomplishing. When people started getting work, he would show up and be like, you will not believe what the students are doing. And he just was so jazzed on it. And sometimes to the point where like, you didn't like, how late did you stay on the creative chat last night, man? Because you look all strung out. But like his passion for that and his desire to be there with you guys and to see what you were making, it was so great to watch. That I had to want to choke him sometimes because I'm like, you got to take care of yourself, man. But yeah, it was really, really beautiful. I love that aspect. And I think it separates a class like this so much from something where you can just grab a bunch of videos on your own time. And now it's all on you. It's just you by yourself. So,
Totally.
Ash, how do you think the 6-week course differed from the traditional kind of video style tutorial? And was there anything in there particularly that you think made it suitable for something like CGI retention or, the assignments or, things like that actually made this work better?
It's kind of like when you do like your traditional kind of courses, it's kind of like shouting out into a void. There's no feedback. And that's the one major defining factor between what this is and what courses have been in the past. Is just the feedback. And I know that's kind of echoing what these guys just said, but it's the truth. It's really reassuring to know that what you're doing is towards the right way. Because sometimes when you're working on stuff at the beginning, it doesn't make sense and it doesn't look right. And you just sit there going, okay, I'm following along blindly kind of thing. I hope this works out. And eventually, if you follow through tutorials, stuff that didn't make sense before eventually will. Like I know going through some of the Photoshop tutorials that you guys have released, it's been one of those things where, kind of like if I didn't get out, I have to rewind and play it. And if I didn't get it then I kind of had to Google it and, kind of like ask friends who are retouches and they would just basically say like, that's like super simple stuff, just run an action, and like they wouldn't really give an answer because they're not invested in your outcome, right? And Dustin's like passion for teaching and for CGI is palpable. It's so nice to be in a class with someone who literally will stay up till like 2 a.m. showing you, how he lit this specific material or whatever it is, or just like, I remember calling him out and just being like, okay, this is my image. It's the best I can do right now. Destroy it. Like, tell me everything that's wrong with it. I don't care about what's right. Tell me what's wrong with it, because being able to build on that is key. And that feedback that you get from a teacher who's available is priceless.
I agree with that. What do you guys think, really quickly, how much of a difference does it make to have assignments? Like to have assignments that you have to complete in the learning process? Do you guys feel like that contributed to making better work, to understanding the process?
I thought it was huge. Yeah. I mean, the practicality of like, all right, this is what you're learning now. Let's
Apply it.
let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
let's just figure out what you learned, and that way we've actually got something tangible that we can look at and critique and tell you how to get better. Yeah, made me feel like I was in high school again. But it's like, we got an assignment due this week. Oh my god, I got to do it. But it kept me on. It kept me on the assignments. It kept me on the videos to learn. And yeah, it kind of like. I'm not saying that the course puts pressure on you, but like I put pressure on myself to do it because this was a 6-week course. And if you want to keep up, then you need to keep up,
Yeah.
And
the
what
accountability, right?
Yeah, the accountability. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Ash or Ian, how did you guys feel about the fact that there were assignments? Was that something that was like, that did help you learn, or something that felt like it was maybe more pressure?
I mean, for me, I think it's an assignment is kind of like having a class assignment is kind of like having your own job. It's like you like I like to think of it as applying the same kind of like this is what you have to do and let's see how well you can do it. And with the I really just think that it's an important aspect of learning to give you a sense of direction. Otherwise, you kind of just taking things in and then throwing it away. And having an assignment actually proves to yourself that you're actually doing something productive and that you're actually achieving something. I mean, I feel like it shows me that I'm actually achieving something, even if it's quite small. It's proof to me that I'm actually learning. So I think that's why it's important to me.
Yeah, with the amount of questions that I asked Dustin, the assignments made him realize that I actually was listening some of the time. Partially. Maybe.
So it sounds like it's really kind of an application, accountability, and then validation, right? So you have the chance, you have that accountability where you have to now apply what you've learned, and then the validation of, yeah, look, you got it. Like you did it. You can move on now. You have retained the important stuff. You can go make things,
Yeah. And just having it available to like go back and look at it too is really nice, because I know like the other day I was like, okay, how do I do this, or what does this mean? And I was like, okay, I guess I can go through his render settings here and check that out. And it's like, okay, this is where he's talking about like the noise and stuff like that. And so I was able to kind of like troubleshoot, and then I was able to look back at the images I've done and go, oh, that's where you went wrong, is if you'd done this, then this would look so much better. So just re-render that, which I inevitably don't, but
but you know how to now.
But I know how. Yeah. But the assignments made you accountable, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, they're really fun for us to go back and look through the stuff that you guys are making. We're like, wow, they're so great. Like, we feel like proud parents, like, look what they've done. It's so awesome.
Do you have them on your fridge?
Yeah, I don't like to talk about it. So, however, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I think that it's important for people to know that with the course, like, you guys are giving the tools, and like, it's important that you learn to do, like, they really do set out the tools and the basics of what you need to learn. And there will be, I mean, you guys cover a lot of stuff, but you won't learn every single nuance there is to the program and to CGI. And there's some of that where you'll learn outside of the course. But I think it's important to know that you'll be getting the tools to then go and make whatever you want. And this really does set a really good baseline for where to become a professional and get work straight out of this. Sometimes I feel like people, I don't even know what I'm saying now, but like I think that sometimes people forget, like, these are the tools and it's up to you what you do with those tools. And if you don't practice and go out and try to get work with them, then it's only your fault if you don't take what you've learned and apply them.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think with something like this, it's really nice because we give you the tools and then make sure you know how to use them before we send you on your way, right? It's not just like, here is a hammer and tongs and here's some lead, like go make a thing. We make sure that you know how to swing the hammer and heat the lead and do the things before we send you on your way. And so at least you have that now, right, to draw from.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll get all of that in this course. From you, like, I mean, some of us have done a little bit of CGI and some other stuff, but I think most of us were on level 0, really. And, you know, their work, like Ryan and Ash's work, it's insane.
Yeah, I'm always super impressed. It's so great to see and to know that you guys were able to walk out of this course with those skills. And so as we are kind of at the end of this interview process, I think the biggest thing people are going to want to know about the CGI 6-week synchronous course for photographers is, what are you walking away with? I mean, what is now the biggest thing that you're going to take and use in your career from here on out? And let's start with Ash for this one. So what are you taking away with? How is this course going to benefit your career?
Oh man. So I went into this course expecting to learn how to kind of add CG to photography. And I'm very quickly realizing that this might have just sent me on a different course completely, in that I can see over the next 3 years phasing into just CGI, with leaning on my photography for specific things, but not leaning on it as a main focus. The ability to make whatever you want. Like I have books like full of drawings that I couldn't make because, you know, I lacked the location, I lacked the set. You know, there's like some things where it would cost thousands of dollars to make. And now I'm able to go back through the book and look and go, okay, I want to really make this concept, and then start applying what I've learned here straight off the bat. Like this course was, when I was talking to Dustin about it before I signed up to it, I said to him, I'm like, well, what's the best way of describing this course? Like, is it like, am I going to make a donut? Like, is that what this is going to be? And he's like, no. He's like, think of it like rocket fuel for a photographer or a digital artist. And that's so what it is, and so much more. Like he undersold it in so many ways, because this isn't just like rocket fuel. This is how to make your own rocket fuel. And, you know, and I'm like, I'm no longer limited. Like, that's the one thing, is like, it really has changed. And over the last like 2 weeks, like afterwards, I've really been adjusting the way I do things, because it is so much more than I realized. And getting into it, I was kind of like, oh yeah, we're going to learn CGI. It's going to be great. Going to like build a donut. You know, but it was, it ended up being so much more. It just became like an entire branch of art that I never really considered as like a main branch, but now it's quickly approaching to will be where I'll go. So yeah, a new career. That's just a little thing, right? Yeah.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah.
Pretty intense. Ian, what about you? What do you think the biggest thing is that you're going to walk away from this experience with?
I feel like I'm the same as Ash. Like I just thought this was actually going to be something that I just learn and be pretty happy learning a new skill. And I've actually really thought about, I mean, keeping the retouching there, I guess, as well. But this is a really viable career path of going down the modeling side and creating purely just CGI work in the future. And I guess at some point plugging off the little bits of photography work that I do. Yeah, I didn't realize I was going to come out of this thinking, you know what, this is actually what I want to do. Like post-production and CGI, as they really do work hand in hand in my eyes, and I can see myself, yeah, like Ash, just going down this probably full time at some point in the near future. Hopefully. So yeah.
It's pretty crazy that so far we've had people that are like, this is going to be my new career now. Like, this is going to take over my whole life. Like, yeah. Holy moly, guys. That's insanity. I mean, it's like insanity of the best kind for so many reasons. Like, especially because So, Ian, you're about to move across the world again. And Ash, you've lived in places all over the world. And this is something you can do wherever you live. You don't have to
from my
be...
kitchen table.
Yeah, you
Just
don't
never
have to
leave my
be...
kitchen.
ever. I mean, your food is there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can do this from anywhere, right? And for this circumstance
Totally.
that we're in now, during a pandemic, you can do this safely. You can make a living from your house, making things like.
Yeah, exactly. Like when I think about that and what you said about moving to the other side of the world. So I'm from a really small country town in the middle of nowhere, and so there's not much going on. And so I started to try and think about what I could do with my time and to earn money as well. And I thought about going into more like, because it's a very country town full of families, and I thought maybe I was talking to my partner about it, and I said to her like, what if I go into a bit more of the family portrait thing on the side, but then creating the backgrounds as well. And like when I think about it, so many different things I didn't do before that I could do now, mixing photography and CGI as well, and relating it to my small town. But there's not many interesting things going on there to shoot against, and so yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing where I can use this in a place that's quite limited creatively. So that's quite exciting for me.
Well, yeah, and I mean, from there you can still model products for people, right? Like you can
Yeah,
still
exactly.
do all of that stuff too. So many possibilities. Ryan, what do you think the biggest takeaway from this class has been for you?
Oh man. Well, just to put it out there, like in case you didn't know, I went 4 years to college and I have a bachelor's degree in digital entertainment and game design. And so I feel like I've learned more in the past 6 weeks from Pro EDU than I did the whole 4 years I was in college. It's so awesome. It's so amazing. I mean, like Ash was saying, taking digital art to this whole new level. I mean, you know, the composite photography that I normally do on a daily basis, it's just going to, again, crank that up to the next level. You know, I've always kind of wanted to dive into do more like commercial photography type stuff. And I know for a lot of commercial photographers, I mean, they normally have to pay, you know, a CGI artist what I can only assume is loads of money to create these things, and that's money you save by taking the money you would probably spend to take this course is in the long run significantly less than you would having to pay someone else to create all this stuff for you. And I'd never even considered product photography before, really, until I saw what everyone was doing in this class. And I'm like, I could probably start doing stuff and getting gigs in product photography doing this. And then, like you were just saying, selling of assets or selling 3D models, selling stock images that you create from 3D models. Like the possibilities are endless. And what I love that it seems like we've all said is the fact that we're all from small towns in the middle of nowhere. And the same is true for me, which just really kind of shows that anyone can do this. It's not like you have to live in some big city surrounded with all the work. It's like you really can in this, you know, world that has been subjected to this pandemic. We can do things from home and really make this dream of ours a reality. And it's quite crazy and awesome to think that, you know?
Yeah, that's my pug barking. Yeah, the freedom, I think it seems like ultimately what you guys have been kind of echoing over and over again is there's this freedom, right? So you have the freedom to make anything you want, the freedom to get into environments and situations that you would be really, really hard pressed to put yourself in real life, whether that's, you know, traveling to a place or finding the right set of circumstances for images that you want to make. I mean, the freedom to do that. Now you have the freedom to do work that you never thought you would make for yourself in a place that you maybe thought was impossible. I mean, if it's a small town or a country town or a place where, you know, it's hard to access some of those things we think must be important. Now you have the freedom to do that too. So it's really amazing that a 6-week course can give somebody the artistic freedom to go live their best art life, right? Like, that's pretty wild.
It's very freeing in so many ways, and like, not only like the course is 6 weeks, but Dustin still lurks around in Discord, and so like having ongoing kind of like availability is something that's really new. Like I've gone through courses before where, you know, you kind of reach out to the instructors and they don't respond because they've got, you know, 10,000 of them a day, or they just turn around and just they kind of say, well, you know, this is this, because time is limited for them, right? And so someone who's committed to it long term, it's a really nice feeling to have that it's not just, you know, here's a course, buy my course, see you in the next one, you know, like. And there's also elements of interactivity that you just don't get from, like, I can't remember the last time school, right? I mean, like, I went through school as an electrician, so like I didn't learn anything in there. So like that was like 5 years of that. So yeah, I got Ryan beat. I spent 5 years learning less than I did in 6 weeks. Yeah. It's pretty impressive.
So crazy. So crazy. All right, guys. So we've been at it for a little while now. I think it's time to start closing this interview down. But I just want to see, do you guys have any final thoughts or anything that you'd want to say to somebody who is looking at CGI as a possibility, or, you know, considering taking this class? Is there anything that you would want to say to them?
Dustin is the OG.
I cannot wait for you to get your valedictorian award. I mean, it's coming to me first, but I cannot tell you. Like, it's gonna go down in history as like the coolest thing. I'm geeking out about it. When I showed Dustin what it was gonna be, he almost lost his mind. He's like, "Oh my God, you're kidding me! No."
That's
I was
amazing.
Like, "Oh yes,
that's amazing.
This is gonna happen." I can't wait. Actually,
I'm excited for you now.
I know.
I can't wait to see it.
I was excited about the award thing there. I was like, oh, that's kind of neat.
No, it's gonna be so great. It's gonna be so great. I can't wait.
Awesome.
So yeah, final thoughts, guys. Anything you'd want to say to somebody who is considering taking this class, besides that Dustin's the OG?
I mean, you really don't have anything to lose, and there's so much to gain from this creatively, you know, and making new friends. You know, what more could you want? Learn new skills, make new friends, have an awesome teacher. There's nothing else you need.
I think the broadness of this field that you're going to go into by learning this is something that you're really understating right now. And so if you're watching this and on the fence of like, do I spend, you know, however much the course is on the course, I can tell you that it'll pay back in dividends in relationships and learning, like, so quickly. It's not even funny. Like, I know Ian and I have been talking about a collaboration on a project already, and it's just because he loves modeling. I hate modeling. Like, there's some things that right off the bat, like, in photography, you're kind of limited. You got your photographer, you got your retouchers, you got your assistants, your lighting guys, and your stylists, right? But CG is so much bigger than that. It's like, it's not, you're, like, we're not even touching on animation stuff. We're not touching on kind of like VR, which is arguably going to be a massive step for a lot of, like my brother-in-law works in the movie industry, and he's deep diving into VR right now because they're trying to figure that out, because they want to bring that next layer of storytelling, like, you know, capture what you had when you went and watched Avatar in much more, you know, like they're just always looking to kind of tell stories in more interesting ways. And so this course is kind of that. So if you're looking to start off and you don't know where to start, and you've modeled a donut like I did and found it was very good, but it didn't really get you to where you wanted to go, this is like a nice thing. So nothing wrong with the donut tutorial. We love you, Andrew.
Ryan, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, You could always opt not to take the course, but you won't really be able to complain much when these guys. Oh wait, there we go. Yeah,
Oh, it's
whatever.
backwards. Yeah.
When these guys, you can opt not to take the course, but you really can't complain when these guys are stealing your jobs. Your potential jobs, because yeah, I mean, you're investing in your future. You know what I mean? It's when you see where this industry is going, it's hard, to. I mean, I guess you can put a price tag on it, but it's hard to do that when you see the value of what you're getting out of it. And one thing I really want to say, not to get like too cheesy or anything like that, but I mean it, from the bottom of my heart, is the fact that, we live in a world where a lot of businesses have shut down and a lot of people have lost hope. And if there's one thing that this class has offered, it's hope, that there are things that you can do. There are options. And if this entire video wasn't evidence of the possibilities that you can do in CGI, I would certainly hope that gives you hope, so yeah.
I like ending on hope. I think that is a good place to end. So Ash, Ian, and Ryan, thank you so much for joining me today, guys. I know that this was a wild experience for the 6 weeks for photographers, the CGI course. Walking into this, not knowing what to expect out of our students, and seeing the huge strides that you guys have made, and seeing you getting work, and seeing how you're taking CGI already and implementing it in your careers or combining it with your photography is really, really incredible to see. And I know Dustin and the whole team are so proud of you guys. So well done to you for making it through what was a really dense, really, really thick course to get through. I mean, I think we can't overstate for people, if you're ready to get into this course, be prepared, because you're gonna get in deep. This is not a walk in the park. It's not a cakewalk. If you want to come into this, you need to be prepared to potentially change your life and your career. You have to be in deep for this one to really get everything out of it that is possible, because if you're like Ash and Ian, you might end up walking a whole new path. I mean, it's really incredible what's possible with a course like this for you. So thank you guys for being here for that and for answering questions. And hopefully it helps people who are wondering whether or not this is going to be not only the right path for them, but the right kind of course for them. Hopefully it helps them kind of settle that so that they know what they're getting into and the changes that it could potentially make in their career. So thank you guys very much for being here for that.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everybody. If you think that this information is going to be helpful to people, and you think that there are people out there, who maybe they're thinking about getting into something like CGI, maybe they are frustrated with photography and the limitations that they've found for the kinds of things that they want to make, if you could share this with them, that would really mean a lot, because there are people who need this course and people whose lives are going to be changed by being able to go through this course and expand the possibilities in their career field. And this is going to help them figure out whether or not a 6-week synchronous course in CGI is the right thing for them. So please do that if you think that this course or that this interview is valuable. So, and then also subscribe, guys. We're trying to put out as much great stuff for you as we can. This year's going to be nuts. Dustin is putting out a whole bunch of new YouTube content for everybody to give them more access to CGI, and give you a little bit of a taste of what is on the way in the next CGI for photographers course. I mean, there are a lot of things happening, guys. Dustin is a master trainer. So boom, that just happened. There's amazing. A lot. Yeah, it's incredible. There is a lot on the way. So cannot wait to see where that is going to lead. So like, share, subscribe, do all the things. And hopefully we'll see you in the next Pro EDU interviews, where we unlock the secrets of success so that creatives can become working pros. Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye.